morning, Justice.
Morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Good. Glad to hear it. I don't know if I've spoken to you. I don't think so. I went scuba diving yesterday. Oh, sort of. I tried the scuba gear. I tried scuba gear yesterday.
You had to breathe through that apparatus.
I got to breathe underwater. That's what I did yesterday. Was breathe underwater.
So you were a fish.
Yeah, straight up. And I think that finally I figured out who I am as a person, and it's a fish.
What? Okay, that's awesome. We already know a fish. We do already know a fish, right? So we can't have another one in the family.
Well, we'll have to talk about that later then.
I know, it's kind of sad.
Because this morning we're going live with Sue and Noah from SHO Studios. And before we kind of get into our little chat with them, we have just another replay from the ABB. We're going back again to Dave Russell and the Precious Stones with 11-teen.
It's a big, big world. Wanna fill it with love, but I'm taking it for granted like the stars above. I wanna know your name. I wanna hear you say mine. But my feet are taking root on the starting line. If you came up to me, then I wouldn't mind. It's a big, big land. Let's
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. How are you guys?
I'm very well. How are you guys doing?
Okay.
Good. We are live and joined with Susan and Noah from SHO Art Studios. It is so nice to have four of us. This is a nice grid today. I feel like we got to start to do like maybe more, see if we can get like the Brady Bunch kind of theme going on.
I was just
I
thinking.
have like a square of 9. That'd be tight. Yeah.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
So, thank you for joining us today, and you guys are in your lovely homes.
We are.
Everybody's been healthy through this.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
that's a bad,
Yeah.
and that's a big thing. Like we were, just as we were. Oh, did I say Lorraine before? No. I'm looking at all the names that I have typed in here, and I realize that I still have Lorraine in my brain. So, she's here in spirit.
Absolutely. Also here watching. So hello, Lorraine. How you doing?
Thank you for taking that, Justice. So you guys run, used to run SHO Art Spirit Performance. We've hit a little bit of a road bump. Which one of you would like to take the helm on this and kind of talk about what SHO is to the community that might be watching that doesn't really know, and then we'll kind of go from there.
I can start, Noah, if that's okay, and then I'll introduce you to everyone. So I am Susan McLeod, and I am one of the business partners at SHO Studios. So SHO Studios has been around for over 10 years now, and through the early summer of 2018, we went from 1,000 square feet to 10,000 square feet. So and then again this past year, 2019, we're up to about 30,000 square feet, right? So in the last few years, we've been extremely busy with construction, programming, lots of community programming, kids programs, wellness programs. So it's been very, very busy. And then this March, right, everything stopped. So that was difficult for the business partners to get used to. But again, health and safety is always number one, right? So, but honestly, guys, during that time, it provided us an opportunity to take a breath and actually take a look at what SHO has been, and is going to be. So through that expansion, it gave us an opportunity to develop a not-for-profit side of SHO Studios, which we have done. And actually, that's where Noah comes in. Noah is one of our board members. So we thought this would be a really great opportunity to introduce him as a board member and just tell a little bit about himself, right? So I'll hand it over to Noah for a bit.
I appreciate that. SHO kind of folded into my world at the beginning of this year. I was meeting with one of the tenants, Rosemary. She runs Soiree, which is a decorating and event planning business. And I was putting together a gala. I knew Rosemary previously. I hadn't been to her office, and when she showed me, she just enthusiastically gave me this tour of SHO Studio and everything they're doing and all the other tenants, and I was thrilled. They had me right at the door. And that's when I came into Lorraine and Sue and Phil and Barry, brought me into the folds for the non-for-profit board side, and I've been helping out ever since, and honestly, they've been just a great community to be a part of. It's kept me sane to have just this new group of friends and this new project to sink my teeth into and to connect with and fundamentally help build, which is really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds wonderful. And to be honest, the story is kind of beautiful, because I think Six and I have a similarly interesting story where we were sort of hanging out, and then we got the tour of the place, and then suddenly you just really want to be part of it, because there's something about that building and the people inside of it who just Oh, that's a community, and you can feel it when you step through the door.
Yeah, I was going to kind of butt in when Noah was talking and be like, yeah, of course they had you once you walked in the door, because once you get in the door and get into the labyrinth of that building, there's no getting out. You were literally lost. I think that's Phil's kind of master genius plan, is some sort of like in the door, then labyrinth to get out, and and then you're just stuck with all these amazing little businesses and people in there, eh?
Our next step is getting a Minotaur in there.
Yeah, sold. Whatever I can do to make that a reality, I'm in.
Oh. See, now you've got extra justice there. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I was already sold, but add the Minotaur, you don't even know.
It was. I want to go back to how we were kind of a little bit, like you say, we ended up at SHO. We kind of fell into that, kind of great community and the nice family that's there, and it's kind of crazy because we had a build up of our relationship as well. We were kind of courting this idea of becoming some pretty solid members there, and having a space. And man, COVID hit at that time where we were just looking at the space and kind of opening the door and thinking about what we were able to be building in that space. And yeah, it really put it on hold. And in a in a creative way, it obviously there's a hole. Justice and I have talked about this a lot. I mean, with Noah, when you said you were getting involved with these people and with this new project, that was the sort of excitement that we had building toward the spring. And when this happened, there was a lot of days that Justice and I were just kind of going back and forth and trying to deal with our own creative mental health, and being like, man, like, I feel like we're spinning our wheels, but this would be totally different if. We would probably be here if. And it has been something that's really been keeping us going as well, is kind of this idea of getting in there and hopefully being able to kind of create within that community again. It's thriving, and there's a lot of energy in there, or was.
And actually, we were very fortunate because there is a great group of people that are in the building with studio spaces and programming. And we have been very fortunate that they have stayed. And we are looking forward to that day. But again, that building has this energy. It has this constant conversation that takes place in it. So for us, Phil and I live the closest. So we're right in the Walkerville neighborhood. And so we tended to go because, as you know, Windsor Endowment of the Arts is a community partner for us and a tenant, and they had purchased a Steinway. So the Steinway still needs to be maintained, and it's like having a new pet or a baby. So we would go to the building often just to check on things, just to walk around the studios to make sure that, for a lot of time, nobody was in there. But it was so eerie, that feeling, that energy. And it's still palpable, but it's the conversation, it's the people going in and going out, right? So, but there was, at that time, there's an alliance that has formed through all this with the performance groups in the city. It's called Windsor Essex Theatre Alliance. So SHO has become a member of that as well during COVID, and using the Zoom platforms, we're able to meet and continue those conversations, because at this time we're all in the same boat, right? So
yeah.
We had a couple of conversations with Moya McAllister and ACT, and have done some stuff through them. And so we've had our ear to the ground a little bit in that regard, kind of hearing about how the theater community has really come together and is like working towards that common goal. And it's honestly, it's another one of those things just sort of about this time that we're seeing people are really dedicating themselves to coalition building, which is incredible.
It is. It's really, really good. And I suspect that most of the community doesn't realize just how much of a theater community there is in an industry down here in Windsor. So I do believe the Alliance is a great opportunity for groups to get together and, again, express what your needs are and what your wants are. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think, like I said, COVID, I do believe, has given us time to work towards the future, right? Yeah. And to take a look at what we can be through after all of it.
You're literally using 2020 for what it's supposed to have done, is this great look back and a great look forward, about who you are and what you've done. I know I kind of felt like that about a lot of my artwork, and then a lot of all this started to happen, and I'm like, my artistic voice can just be left for next year, or something like that.
Well, you'll have to put some of that artwork on the walls, the linear galleries.
Yeah. Noah, there's a little bit of, let's just do this. Here's a nod out. I don't really want to get into your past and a whole lot of this, but if anybody does pick up this great little magazine, look at this. This is the old Walkerville. This is the little magazine that was coming out, and there's a great little bit of history here. So for people that are actually wanting to learn more, or don't know who you guys are, you can pick it up in a magazine and you can read a little bit. Phil has so much knowledge of this area and so much historical, just an abundance of information. And I always enjoy, coming in and learning from you guys. So Noah, putting you on the spot, what's your past and what do you bring into the table like this? Were you a visual artist? Were you involved in theater? Give me a little bit of that.
So I just recently graduated from Odette as a business student. So my education is actually in accounting, but also in arts management. So I did my internships with the film festival.
Okay.
But I've always been connected with the theater community in Windsor ever since I was in high school. Acting was something I did as sort of my extracurricular. I was part of the theater troupe in my high school. And it's always something I've been connected to and felt a passion for. And partway through my education in business, I realized, I should probably be doing both, because I'm enjoying business, I'm enjoying art, managing artists and managing the work of art, I think is probably as great a profession as I'll ever enjoy. So my background's all in the financial side, but also in the management side in terms of just, I've worked with a lot of NFPs, especially through my time at the university. I was in student politics, I was in sort of our educational groups, and I especially in this time, I find art is so necessary to be a part of, because what did we turn to when we were all shut into our homes?
Yes.
Artists, work of artists,
some
music.
It's in art. Some form, right?
So if anything proved that we do need art and artists, it's this time, I think.
Well, I'll tell you right now, if there's anything else that proves that artists actually need management and accounting, it is also this time. I've joked with Justice about this. I went through university, started in 94, ended off in around 99. I got a Bachelor of Fine Arts from the University of Windsor. We had, very few kind of the business of art classes. There was a few, but I think kind of at arm's length, not the nitty gritty of this is how you have to do your accounting. This is how you have to do your bookkeeping. This is where you should put receipts. This is how, how at the end of the year you figure out how much money you've made, rather than just going, wow, I just skimmed by last year. I'm still at a loss sometimes at the age of 47 when I'm trying to deal sometimes with my artwork and the business of art rather than the business of my business and what Justice and I do. The value of art, or understanding kind of that business when it comes to something that is so close to you, I think is very, very difficult for a lot of people. So maybe I'll just kind of nudge you this way, but I'd look forward to seeing something at SHO Studios where you are teaching people some of these lessons that we all need to know, and artists and the creative people, in order to make that community stronger, so that we don't always have to rely on a pandemic and $2,000 a month from CERB, which is also taxable. Keep that in mind. to take us through tough times. Hopefully we can find a little bit of this information and a little bit of knowledge from that and move forward. I'm just going to put that out there. So that's it, Noah.
Curiously, that's something we're actually been following around, is the idea of just helping artists in terms of just the commerce side of things. Mm-hmm. And like the accounting and finance is one of probably 4 arms of what they need to learn in terms of business. They need to learn who they should be surrounding themselves with. They need to learn how to market themselves, learning where to buy stuff and what the supply chain of things are, right?
Legal. Like that's a whole other end, right? Like, we've seen this happen in our city with, let's just say a very public, mural artist, and having to deal with really large companies, and knowing your rights when you're a creative person is also a really dicey thing. It's also hard to try and figure out, because when you sometimes have very large companies saying some really scary things to you, you don't think about necessarily your right. You think about that money and what it's going to cost you to try and fight against that sometimes. So all these different arms of creativity, are really interesting. And during this time of COVID, the unfortunate thing is I've had to actually spend time on that financial arm of things and get all my taxes together, and and try and do some of that. So I may not be creating in the grandest sense of things, but I'm trying to button up some of the business end of being an artist.
Maintenance and maintenance is just as important a part of like the creative process, I think, as anything else. And it's the least fun. I'll admit to that. It sucks, but it's incredibly important. And like to sort of bring it back around a little bit to SHO and to what you guys are doing is like, how are you maintaining your mental health? How are you maintaining yourselves and your ability to create without that like community aspect of SHO? What are you guys doing sort of every day?
So for Phil and I, being business partners as well as husband and wife partner, we don't Zoom in the same room. Okay, we do separate. Much easier that way. But for myself, Phil has been working on some very large projects, and so he's actually been able to rest a little bit from the physical, hanging drywall and moving drywall and hammering. And you guys have seen him. He's on a ladder more than he's not.
He's like a one-man team. He's incredible, really.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Oh, Phil's just like a one-man machine. He's his own team, basically. I never see that guy stop. It's quite incredible. Good for him to take a break. Thank God.
For sure. So, but for myself, just before COVID hit, through just a happenstance, we, Lorraine, myself, had an opportunity to meet one of the leading experts on trees, Diana Beresford Kroger, who was in Windsor to do a Q&A after her film was shown at WIF. And she actually came to SHO. So, and Lorraine and I had a wonderful opportunity to join her for dinner. So we were approached by PIBO, Pelee Island Birds Observatory, to host a book club, specifically using her books, which we did. It started at SHO in the middle of January. It was freezing out. We walked the Walkerville area, but it was very well organized through Mary Jo Russo. It wasn't just reading a book and talking about the book. We had creative application to it. Anyway, COVID, March, right? So here we are. We had up to 25 women, and it was based on women and their call to action. So Zoom, I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't know Zooming was a verb, but it is now. So we have continued with that book club. And through COVID and through the very generous, the generosity of one of the original show people, Catherine Roth, we were able, using COVID guidelines, to plant 100 trees.
Wow.
And on her property, and Urca as well. So that will be a film. Pat Jefflin filmed it for us, so she's working on editing that. So you'll be able to see that on social media.
That's awesome.
But the book club has been fascinating. We did a felting workshop based on the Druidic Oldham alphabet for trees through Debbie Dunlop at SHO, and we did it via Zoom. So that will be an installation that will go up at SHO, and we're going to work on some programming to have poetry, music, all based around that. So that has been a huge advantage for me. I love to read. I just didn't have the time. So that, and I'm felting now. She's created a monster. I'm going to take on more leaves, more trees, and do it. So I've set up my own little craft area here. But we're so fortunate that that happened, right? So
your takeaway from all of this is like Zoom and felting.
Don't even talk to me about doodling or whatever that is. No, and I know that. So yeah. So again, I think we've, for me personally, I've taken on different roles as a manager of the space, and had the time to actually dedicate to that. Right. So I think we're in a really, really good position moving forward. So,
is there something that you do, before we turn this back over to Noah, and I were going to ask you the same thing, but specifically, is there something you do kind of on a personal daily basis to keep yourself, maybe really grounded or moving positive? What is that little tip that you could maybe toss out for somebody?
Right now, so we do live in Walkerville, and we rent in Walkerville, and our landlord has amazing gardens. So I water the gardens, and that to me is meditative. I've been working outside. I do love it. So that's my
awesome.
My way to stay sane. So.
Noah, other than getting yourself involved in all these this amazing community of people and having a lot of that great to look forward to, is there something else that you are looking forward to beyond this?
Beyond this, it's a good question. I would say change. I think this has been a really big agent of just not just SHO, but I think every arts organization, and probably a lot of organizations in general, have just had a chance to sit down and go, who are we? What do we do? How do we go forward? So I think there's been a whole revision of missions and visions for a lot of organizations I've been a part of, that I'm really excited to see just this new energy in how to move forward as a business. I think especially with arts organizations, and especially with the food and entertainment industry. Yeah.
That's awesome.
How to keep forward.
Yeah, I'm pretty interested to see all this too, and looking forward to change. So is there anything personally that you do that's a good kind of nugget of positivity?
I think something different every day. Just do something new that you haven't done before every day. I started script writing or comedic writing as a hobby. I would call myself any good, but it's something to keep me engaged. So I just do that. I've been trying different kinds of books I'd never tried before. Taking drives in parts of Essex County I've never been to before. Yeah. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
I absolutely understand. And I said this earlier before we brought you in, but I'm going to say it again because it was so cool. I tried scuba gear for the first time ever yesterday. I got to breathe underwater. Nuts. Can't recommend it enough. If you need to clear your head or just get out of it, go breathe underwater for half an hour because it's primo. It's good stuff.
Wow.
It's pretty crazy, eh? Yeah.
I used to jump out of airplanes and that,
Holy shit.
No, scuba diving has never been something, but I don't know, Justice, you make that sound very attractive.
Oh God, it's so good. It's so good.
See, the jumping out of airplanes and scuba diving for me, if I was to, I'm afraid of heights. So if I was like on top of really deep water, like I understand that there's buoyancy, but there'd probably still be this weird vertigo feeling that I'm going to be falling. And then I'd get down underneath the water and then I'd feel like I'm trapped. So either way, probably scuba is not my thing.
It'll be mine. That's
It'll
fine.
be yours. I want to take the time again. Thank you guys for taking the time out of your day and your morning, getting up nice and early and joining us. It's really great to see familiar faces. And Noah, it's great to meet you. I really look forward to being, even if it's socially distanced around that damn building, kind of being back in there, you know?
Actually, we were in yesterday, and you know, some of the art, you know, a lot of the artists were still using their studio spaces. They just didn't have clients, right? So, but now there are appointments, and you know, people are coming in. Everybody's masked up. There's hand sanitizer everywhere, and you know, all the health and safety. But there was that conversation again, and it actually felt really good. I think the building is craving it too.
Yeah,
so.
It's an old
Absolutely.
building. It's an old building. It needs the energy.
It needs people.
It needs people.
It's funny. I'll say one more thing. You know, Phil and Lorraine have been refurbishing the door to the old dairy bar, which was Gordon's Dairy Bar. And actually, Phil designed the post tops for the column. I don't have the right words, but he actually had the makers group in there 3D print them.
Oh, really?
And Lorraine actually antiqued them and put them on there, and we're very excited the way that door is coming along. So it should be finished soon. So.
Oh, well, I'm sure I can speak for Six on this one as well. We're very, very excited to see it.
Yeah.
So again, thank you to the both of you so very much for joining us this morning. Just before we say our goodbyes and let everybody go, is there any last words you'd like to leave the audience with?
I agree with Noah. Do something different every day, and make sure you shine a light on everything.
Yeah, and get in the garden. That's a good thing.
No,
I've got to go.
very fun.
I have to go fix my. I have a silver birch tree right out front, which is like one of very few in the area, and it has some of those crazy worm nests, those silky things. So I literally, right after this, got to go trim that tree and burn those parts so we don't get infestation around the area. Fun, eh?
Well, thank you for having us on, and we can't wait to have you back.
Great.
Absolutely.
All right,
We
guys.
can.
Take care,
So
and we'll be back tomorrow. Thank you, everybody, for checking us out. Take care.